Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today's video is going to be a little on the nerdy side, something for the hardcore model kit collector aficionado of vintage kits. This is going to be a comparison of a couple of versions of the Revell Brewster Buffalo. These are 1964 produced kits. One is a U.S. produced one, and the other one is a Great Britain produced one. The Revell Buffalo is kit number H636-50, 1/72nd scale, and the Great Britain produced one is kit number H36 without the 50, and also 1/72nd scale. So this is the U.S. one, and this is the Great Britain one. As you can see, they look almost identical. Slight variation in the way the Revell logo is presented. Yeah, one's a little bit crisper in its printing, it looks like. On the sides, you've got very similar as well. Difference in the logo. The U.S. one just has the Revell in California, and this one here for the UK has got manufactured in the USA. On this side, you've got some little bit of a difference, similar information being presented, but different size, slightly different fonts. And on the US one, it talks about using Revell model paints and cements. On the ends, actually I've got these kits backwards. The 636 is the UK one, and the 63650 is the US one. So sorry about that. So you can see the ends are pretty much the same. Again, the logo's different. And then the kit code's different. Both taped together boxes. Slightly different type of box being used on one. And the other end is similar again. Now this one does have a 98-cent sticker on it, so at some point this UK kit came back to the US. So these kits here, the box art is done by a gentleman by the name of Brian Knight, who's a fairly famous British aviation artist. He was producing art for quite a number of years, and did a number of these Revell kits in the 72nd scale series. So Revell had throughout the 50s been making mostly contemporary aircraft, helicopters, jets, transports, airliners, and they were all mostly contemporary. There was a smattering of other stuff, some World War I, a couple of World War I kits, a B-25, a B-24, a P-39. They were all in box scale. Pretty much everything that Revell was doing in the 50s was in box scale. So you got these random scales, just whatever fit the standard box that Revell was making. Well, they saw the popularity of some of their World War II kits, saw some of the other manufacturers making World War II kits, and seeing those fly off the shelves. So Revell decided to make a line of World War II fighters, and they settled on the 1/72nd scale as the one to produce. Revell of Great Britain was responsible for creating the molds for a number of these kits. I don't think they did all of them, but quite a number of them were actually produced by them, and hence the artwork being done by Brian Knight in England. So on the surface, these look like they're pretty identical kits, but when we get inside of them, you'll see differences between them, and then there's also an alternate variant of the Great Britain one, which you'll see some evidence of on the inside of this box. So let's open them up and compare the two. So the first thing that you probably notice, or a couple of things, is difference in the type of instruction sheets, and also difference in plastic. And so take a look at the US one first. So we've got copyright 1965 by Revell in Venice, showing you what the 1/72nd scale was, some history on the buffalo, and then a 3 view, actually kind of a 4 view because the one plan form is split in half for painting. They're just calling out light gray and light blue, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And 3-step building process, pretty simple. And then showing you decal placement on the last step, and showing a stand being included. And now on the one from Great Britain, we've got a 1964 copyright for Revell GB, with their address there. A little history on the buffalo itself. Wondering if it's the same thing. Yeah, it looks like it's the same copy, just presented differently. You've got this line drawing that looks like something out of a Brewster manual, and then you've got only a 2 view showing decal placement and painting. They're showing pale gray and yellow. And the eagle eyes will notice that there's a difference in the markings that are being shown here. This is 3F8, and this one is 3F18. So something different here, and this one's calling for yellow, and this one's calling for blue. I wonder why. So the instructions themselves, about twice the size of the US ones. Similar 3.5 steps on this one. They're showing similar but different, completely different drawings, but similar step. And then quite a bit of stuff going on here. And finally the landing gear. And this one's showing you that you could put it in the retracted position if you wanted, which they're not showing here, but interesting that they're showing, let's see, if you wish to build your model in flight, okay, so it does explain to you to do it, but it doesn't show you how to do it, even though you get a stand. So this also shows you getting a stand here as well too. And on the back side here is instructions in looks like French and German probably, and some other language it looks like. Swedish maybe? I don't know. Something different. So there's our instructions. See a difference in that. Next up is, we'll take a look at the decals. So our decals are pretty similar. Difference in the printing. These are very glossy. These are very flat, but slightly different, but pretty similar. Here's our back side. And then now we see that we've got a difference in color and plastic. So this one's still kind of on the trees a little bit. So you can see here's the white. And the US one was molded in gray. Take a look at the kit itself, the fuselage. So not too bad for its time. It's got raised panel lines, rivets. There's some recessed detail stuff, like the step for getting into up to the cockpit. The fabric covered tail surfaces are kind of nicely rendered. Nothing on the inside, as you can expect from this period. And let's see kind of how the fit looks on it. Yeah, it fits pretty good. So pretty thin. Control surfaces on the tail. The fit's pretty tight there. A lot of kits have got oversized control surfaces and ailerons and wing trailing edges, but this is pretty nice and thin. So there's your fuselage. Here's our wings. Here's the lower half. They are omitting completely the window that's at the bottom of the fuselage. Not even a representation of it, let alone a clear part for it. You do see some sinkholes where the connector pins are, or locating pins, I should say. And here's the top side. You do have representation of the blister for the wing guns, but nothing in the wing to represent the gun. And again, pretty sharp edge on there, smooth for a trailing edge. This looks like it fits together pretty nicely. Wouldn't need much filler on that. And you can see very similar parts, same mold coming from Revell of Great Britain. The cowling does have little indentations here for the cow guns. You got little stubs here for exhaust. There's some raised surface detail and riveting on here as well. And the landing gear parts, somebody actually started to paint this one. Some additional pieces, landing gear doors. Here's our propeller. One piece with the hub. A little bit of flash around there. You do get a separate engine piece. It's a R1820, I believe. Here's their pilot figure. Not too bad. Detail's a little soft, but he's better than just a blob. Some gear strut parts. Here's the extent of the cockpit. At least it's a somewhat realistically shaped seat. And here's our tail. Horizontal surfaces, similar fabric covering. A couple additional parts. And here's our canopy. All one piece, bit of flash on it. Fairly clear, a little thick, but not too shabby. A little cutout there for the gun sight. And then we get a little itty bitty mini Revell stand. And there you have it. So now in comparison to the UK one, everything is pretty much the same, except for, of course, being molded in white is one part. But the other major thing is you've got a canopy that's molded in 3 separate parts. You get your windscreen and your sliding part. Just has some flash on it. And then your rear part, which unfortunately has an ejector pin mark right in the middle of it there. But that allows you to make an open cockpit on it. Not that there's anything really to see in there, but something different. So it's kind of, unusual to see that they would make a different canopy for this. The other thing you notice is that there is no stand. And I thought, well, maybe somebody might have, yanked the stand out of this thing at some point. But in looking at other ones of the Great Britain kits online, none of them seem to have stands in them, even though there is a stand listed in the instructions. So one of the ways that you can tell, of course, that this was originally molded in England is that it has a Revell GB Limited listed on there. So, they did a number of the molds for Revell, and this is one of those. So now let's get back to these markings here and what you're seeing on here. So these decals are for specific aircraft, which is represented on the box art. This is an aircraft from VF3, and specifically aircraft number 8 in the squadron. And VF3 is known as the Felix the Cat Squadron. They're one of the oldest squadrons in the U.S. Navy. And they were the first to receive F2A Buffaloes. So the artwork is all wrong. So the Buffaloes this time period had chrome yellow wings on the top that wrapped around the front edge. And these guys were operating off of the USS Saratoga, which is represented back here. That's a pretty good rendition of Saratoga at the time. And that means that they would have had a white tail on here. This is aircraft number 8, which is the part of the 3rd section. And that's represented also by the color on the cowling. So the true blue was the color for 3rd section, and the first aircraft would be all blue, and second aircraft of the section would be top part would be blue, and the third aircraft of the section, the bottom half would be blue. So that part is correct. That does match up for F8 on here. And then I was able to get real close and see the serial number that's on here that they're giving, or the bureau number, I should say, is 1398 as an F2A2. And that is an actual aircraft. It's well documented, a number of photographs taken of that aircraft. And you can't really see in in the photographs the fact that it has the yellow wings, and because they're black and white pictures, the white on the tail doesn't really show all that well. So I can kind of see where, if they're working off of those photographs, where they kind of get the markings wrong on that. So we'll show you that one here. Now, the Great Britain one, the box on this is the exact same, right? It's the same artwork, exact everything. And they say the same thing down here. But this instruction sheet is calling out for something completely different, but yet it's got the decals from that match, the U.S. issue one. So from what I was able to figure out, that there was a separate Great Britain issue of this kit that these are the markings that came with it. And the actual box art on some of these has been modified to reflect this changed marking scheme. So the box art shows a yellow bottom half, and it's got F18 instead of F8. And on this little nameplate right here, it says F2A1 as opposed to just F2A. Now, this particular aircraft here, 1398, is an F2F2 from VF3. And then this is this one here, the actual serial number that's on here. You can't read it on this, but I was able to look at the decals that came with this Great Britain alternate version, and it is 1388, which is actually an F2A1. And there are a number of photographs of that particular aircraft as well. So let me show that to you here. So again, as you see in those photographs, the white tail doesn't really show up all that well. In fact, even the lemon yellow doesn't show up all that well. So the lemon yellow is correct for aircraft number 18. That's the 6th section with the lower half of the cowling being painted. Aircraft 17 would have had the top half, and aircraft 16 would have had the whole cowling painted. So I was able to, coincidentally, I was looking at an old issue of Royal Air Force Flying Review. This is a May 1960 issue. These are fantastic magazines. If you ever get a chance to get a hold of them, I'll probably do a further review on these magazines, kind of show you what's in them and how neat they are. But there's an article in here on the Buffalo, and it's written by William Green, who I think is one of the the best aviation writers, along with maybe Bill Gunston, from the 50s through the 80s, 90s. And it's an interesting article. It's interesting they chose the Dutch aircraft to do their full color presentation. It's kind of neat. But what I found interesting here was this part that was mentioned here, in that when the F2A1 was ordered, that the first 11 machines were bureaus number 1386 to 1396. And they were delivered as F2A1s, and 9 of these being assigned to VF3, which accounts for the markings on there of 1388 going to VF3. And then the 12th and subsequent machines in the initial production were delivered as F2A2s. So after just not even a dozen, they switched over to the A2, which had a more powerful engine. The Wright 1820-34 on the A1 put out about 850 horsepower, whereas the Dash 34 motor on the A2 put out 1,000 horsepower, so it was a much faster aircraft. So then the kit or the decals that are represented by the U.S. kit is one of that second batch of A2 aircraft. So that kind of cleared up a little bit about that. So it kind of interesting that for some reason, don't know why, wasn't able to find any reason why, there's this variation with the Great Britain kit. They went and, had the box art revised. But yet this particular kit still got the old box top and the old decals. So somebody who got this kit back then probably would have been a little confused by it. Wondering why they didn't include a stand. And also curious as to why why the Great Britain kits got a 3-piece canopy, which is really kind of cool. So there's a number of other issues of this kit. So of course we got these two from '64, and in '65 there was a revised version of this one. I think they changed the logo on this one here for the U.S. one. '66 Revell Japan did an issue of this. '67 Revell Keycolor, which is Brazil, did their issue of this version. '74 Revell Japan popped this out again, and same thing with Revell Keycolor. In '78 did another issue of this, slightly revised presentation on it, but it's the same decals, same artwork, and all that. And then 1979 Advent, which was an offshoot sort of from Revell. Some employees from Revell decided that they wanted to make some extra money, so they worked out some deal where they could run the mold or the machines after hours or on weekends or something. Some of the older kits that Revell, was not doing well with anymore, to sell and make some extra money. So this Buffalo was one of the ones that they did as part of that Advent line. And it's a photo of the completed model in these markings. But the odd thing about it is that the toning on the photo makes it look like it's all pink, which is really odd. So it's a very strange looking box. Advent was only around for a year or two, so it actually ends up being one of the rarer versions of this kit. So if you ever come across that pink Buffalo, that is maybe something to pick up. Then finally there was another issue from Keycolor in '81 with a different photo box. '83 Lodella, which is Revell Lodella, which is Mexico, did a photo box issue as well. And Revell in '86 did a whole new decal set. They got the wing colors right and stuff. Different squadron. There's another photo box. And then finally, the last issue of it was Revell in 2005. They did an issue in finish markings. So the Buffalo didn't do so well for the U.S., for the British, for the New Zealanders, for the Australians, for the Dutch. But man, those fins, got some good mileage out of this aircraft. And so Revell finally did an issue of this plane in finish markings. In fact, there was 3 different aircraft you could get in it. So that's it for this one. If you've built one of these, tell us about it. If you've got one of these on your shelves, take some pictures of it, send it in for next viewer build video. But that's about it. Again, just going down some real super nerdy stuff here. So if you enjoy this kind of stuff, like I do, then thanks for sticking around to the end. And thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.